we got to have a very serious discussion about the biggest what if in the history of the college football playoffs. And that is, what if Jordan Travis never got injured during Florida State's 2023 season? Because remember, the sole reason why the committee snubbed them for Alabama was because they weren't the same dominant team without Jordan Travis as they were when they had him fully healthy. So let's rewrite history a little bit. Jordan Travis never gets injured against that random FCS school. FSU, they blow through the regular season, but more convincingly than what they did without Jordan Travis, because at this point, Jordan Travis was one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He was going to be one of the 3 Hiesman finalists, and he had Florida State playing at a level that program wasn't playing at since Jameis Winston was at quarterback. So you blow out Florida, you blow out Louisville in the ACC championship game with Jordan Travis. What's next? Well, of course, you're going to get in the college football playoffs because you still are one of the best 4 teams. You're undefeated. And at this point, yeah, Alabama beats Georgia, but you should have been undefeated. You never should have lost in the regular season. So therefore, instead of Alabama still in the 4th seed from FSU, with Jordan Travis being fully healthy, FSU gets in. They never get snubbed. And we get Michigan versus Florida State in the Rose Bowl. Now, with Florida State in the playoffs, here's the reality about Jordan Travis' injury that nobody wants to admit. If Jordan Travis never gets injured during Florida State's 2023 season, they have a very high chance of winning the national championship. And here's why I say that. That 2023 Florida State team had the 3rd most players drafted. They were tied with Alabama and Washington with 10 players who got drafted in the 2024 NFL draft. The teams that they were behind were Texas at 11 and Michigan at 13. But out of the 10 players that FSU had drafted, 5 of those guys were starters during their rookie seasons. You had Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk, cornerback Renardo Green, receiver Keon Coleman, and corner Jarian Jones, who all started as rookies, and they had really good first seasons, especially Jared Verse. And with how good Jared Verse has looked in the NFL this early into his career, same thing with Brandon Fisk, these 2 guys easily would have been the 2 best players in the CFP, in my opinion, if Florida State gets in. Because with how dominant Jared Verse is, just bullying offensive tackles with his quick first step and elite explosiveness, and Brandon Fisk being a really tough interior defensive lineman, that would have given Michigan's offensive line a lot to handle. Because remember, they had the best offensive line in college football at this point last year. Yeah, they gave the Joe Moore Award to Washington, but really it should have been given to Michigan. But Florida State defensively would have been an incredible out for Michigan offensively because they were good against the run and they had a really good secondary as well. And offensively, with Jordan Travis running around, extending plays, and he's throwing the Ja'Kai Douglas, Keon Coleman, and Johnny Wilson, I think that Michigan secondary kind of struggles in that game. Remember that it took Michigan a goal line stand to beat Alabama in that game with Jalen Milroe that wasn't really that great. So Jordan Travis being a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe, and Florida State having a more explosive offense than Alabama, helps them upset Michigan in the first round in this hypothetical, right? Or in this what if. And they advanced to the national championship game. And I say first round when I meant second round. And then they're either going up against Washington or Texas. Now, I'm still going to say that this plays out the same way. And they end up going up against Washington, the team that Michigan beat for the national championship. And they probably could have been in Washington too, with how good Florida State was on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football that year, coupled with Jordan Travis. It just was going to be hard for Washington defensively to slow down that FSU offense. They just were outmatched on the line of scrimmage. Now, of course, Washington probably would have had more success offensively against Florida State's defense than what they did against Michigan, because Michigan defensively, I do give them a pretty big edge over Florida State's defense in that department. But, I don't think the gap was too wide between the two units. So for Washington, you still lose to Florida State, but Florida State ends up winning the national championship if Jordan Travis never gets injured. With the talent that FSU team had on it and the impact that a lot of those guys made in the NFL right away as rookies, and with how bad this past season was for Florida State, I think that team is a lot better than what we thought it was at that time. Because when you bring up this what-if scenario with a lot of other college football fans out there, they'll be quick to tell you, oh, FSU never had a chance against Michigan. Even if Jordan Travis was fully healthy, they still would have been like a double-digit underdog. Like, the point spreads don't matter. Like, the games are played on the field for a reason. And there's no way you can watch a guy like Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk, Keon Coleman, and Jerry and Jones and think that those dudes were not going to make plays against a team like Michigan or Washington in the national championship. Like, 2023 Florida State, if Jordan Travis never gets injured, they probably end up winning the national championship, because from a talent standpoint, they had a way better team than what they were given credit for. I mean, that team was absolutely stacked. 5 out of 10 of the players drafted from that FSU team that got snubbed out of the playoffs were instant starters in the NFL. I want you to think about that. Florida State had 5 guys on their squad in 2023 that were NFL caliber players already. Think about that. They could have gone toe-to-toe with any team in college football. Name it. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, who you name it. FSU truly was one of the most talented teams in college football in 2023. And Jordan Travis' injury robbed us of seeing what could have been maybe another potential national title one for the Seminoles.